I'm Anna, the Yarn Randomizer, and this is episode 31 of the Yarn Randomizer, and today is the 24th of August. I can't believe August is almost over. And this is a knitting podcast, and just my little corner of YouTube for talking about my knits and that kind of thing. And welcome, folks who've just stumbled across this channel. I hope you enjoy it, and welcome back, folks who've subscribed. Glad to have you coming back, and I hope I can keep providing some interesting content or some interesting ideas related to knitting. And you can find me, and I'm looking at my notes over there because I cannot possibly memorize the script, and I do not have a teleprompter. Let's see, but okay, so you can find me on Instagram as original.annasender, and you can find me on Ravelry as the Yarn Randomizer, and also the Yarn Randomizer at gmail.com, and I have a P.O. box that I use for return addresses when I mail things out, and I have a Spreadshirt or Spread Shop as well that has some t-shirt designs in there, and that's all linked down below. And why randomizer? Oh, I put my bucket of chips away. Is because I, for the most part, pick projects, yarn to work with at random out of my stash. So I have a closet full of stash over there, and some IKEA shelves full of stash over there. And so, for example, this is one of the types of wooden chips that I have, and I have a spreadsheet that has, I have my full stash in Ravelry, and you can export it as a spreadsheet, and I use that and assign numbers to everything in my stash. And then I have my husband pull out numbers out of my bucket of chips, and to figure out when I need something to think about to do, to kind of work on. So I don't have to try to think about my stash and think about something to make. I just have him pick a random number, and when I get that yarn, I have to figure out what to do with it. So it's kind of, I've been doing this for, goodness, it's almost 7 years now, almost. And it's really been great for my knitting mojo, and it really engages the puzzle solving part of my thinking and stuff, so I enjoy it. Please like and subscribe. That helps other people find these little videos and stuff. And other than that, let's get right to it. So, first thing I always like to do if I have a giveaway from the previous episode is talk about the giveaway immediately. I'm not going to make you guys wait till the very end of the video. You get to wait for the Yarn Randomizer pick for that. But it's the name, I picked a random number, and it was Patsy Vincent 9483 was the username, Patsy Vincent. So if that's you, please email me and we'll figure out. Oh, and just in case you were wondering, what was being given away was this Mandy's Making Share a Pair. These are two 50-gram skeins of fingering weight sock yarn, and I have an identical set. And the idea behind Mandy's Making is she's got these share a pair sets where you buy, it's like getting two skeins of yarn at once, but they're already split into pairs, and the idea is you share one with somebody else. So this will be heading to you as soon as we can make the arrangements and everything. So get in touch with me as soon as you can. So other than that, let's get right down to it. We've actually had some really cool mornings, just to explain why it's August and I'm actually wearing something. So we've had some really cool mornings lately, like down in the upper 40s, and it's been cold in the mornings, and so I've been wearing occasional knitwear to stay warm in the mornings. And this is my Ondulette shawl by Kate Archer. And this is made in Madelinetosh Prairie, which I don't know if they make it anymore. It's a single ply lace weight yarn. Yes, I'm a glutton for punishment here. And so I made this back, I think, in 2020. Let me take this off for a second. So this is a kind of a loop cowl, and I used the entire skein of Madelinetosh Prairie, and that's actually a I believe that's a full-size skein. Let me just check that really quick. You know, a lot of lace weight yarns come in kind of 50-gram skeins, And so let me check this here. There it is, and take a look. And the Madeline Tosh Prairie, yeah, it's 100, well, they don't, these Madeline Tosh single plies didn't typically put the weight on the skein, but it's 800, it was 840 yards in a skein. So it's some really beautiful single ply, 100% merino. And this colorway is called Electric Rainbow, seems appropriate. And this pattern was interesting in that it's just these huge cables, and they're ribbed cables, so the work looks the same on each side. It almost feels like it should be a tube, but it's a flat piece, but it has these cables all the way. And these are very large cables. I can't remember if they were 16 stitches wide or 12 stitches wide. They were very wide. And this, I'll have to say, was kind of a pain in the butt to make. And it had some other interesting issues as well. So it was kind of a pain. The cables that were a pain were the ones at the edge. It was really moving that many stitches right at the edge was troublesome. But again, the result is great. But there's a funny thing about the yarn. Let's see if I can pick a place to show this really well. This yarn, oh yeah, there it is. This yarn got lighter and lighter as I went through the skein. So you can see here, it's very light. Here it's very bold. So let me see if I can hold that up a little better. Yeah, it's really obvious there. And so it's funny, when I grafted it together, the graft is pretty obvious because of the change in the yarn. I don't know that I did the best job. Grafting is interesting when you're grafting ribbing together, because if you've done any grafting of the ends to like two ends of something to itself, it's the stitches are off by half stitch, and so you kind of have to meld way through and do the best you can. And so that was about the best I could do there. It's not awful, but it's not bad. But yeah, I love this. This is one of my favorite kind of long loop cowls because I feel like it turned out really nice. It was a pain in the butt, but it was worth the effort. I ended up really enjoying the result. And you know, I think I mentioned this. I don't know if Madeline Tosh even makes prairie anymore, but any lace weight yarn would probably work just fine. But it was neat to be able to use the entire skein in this project. So that's what I'm wearing. Anything I talk about will be linked below, all the projects and that kind of thing. So that's what I'm wearing. And so next, let me get my notes back up here. All right, is finished objects. So first, I have a half-finished object with kind of a story here. So this, let me see if I can, now you'll see that I still have I have yarn still attached to this. This is the Garantia sneaker socks. And oh, let me make sure I have the person who's responsible for the pattern. I always like to mention that. I usually put it in my notes. Let's see. Silky R. Okay, so I was really taken by these socks. I was very curious about this heel. I like this style of this kind of high back, and then it's got a little bit of curled stockinette on the front, a little lace on the top, and I love it. Now, I am in the midst of maybe yarn chicken. So what happened was I got so excited about this sock when I started knitting this heel. So you can see heel here, from here to here provides additional width to give you a kind of a gusset. Then you have a heel turn here, and then you work this heel up, consuming stitches along the edge to bring it up the back. So you have this nice squishy garter stitch heel, and then this nice ribbing detail up here at the top, and this back is done using short rows, and she uses shadow wraps on the sock, if you're familiar with short rows and how they work. So it's really great. So you get this additional, let me hold that out. this additional height in the back, and it looks absolutely, you know, seamless. And it's just, I really love the pattern. And so you see I used some purple there to extend how much yarn I had. There's also a detail I plan to add in purple at the top of the back. She has a little video for doing that. And so next I need to finish the other sock. And this is done in, this is Molly Girl Diva. So this is a sock yarn with some stellina in it. I don't know if you can see the sparkles very well. This yarn at the toe is Tink yarn, and again, another sock yarn with stellina in it. I mainly use this because I only had a little bit of this left, and it was another stellina yarn, and I thought it would help me extend how much of the blue, how far I can get with the blue. And so yeah, I love it. I'm absolutely loving, and it fits really nice. I did cast this off a little too tight, so not only do I have this on here still attached, so just in case I do play yarn chicken, but I also plan to undo this and recast it off. If I am suffering from yarn chicken, what I'll probably do is bring back this a little bit. See if you can see that. Yeah, I'll come back a little bit here and start this ribbing this part a little bit sooner, so kind of shorten that amount, start that ribbing a little sooner in order to shorten the sock. But my plan is to have these completely done next time, but I highly recommend the pattern. Right now it's in a test in English. I actually did give feedback on some details in the pattern, but I just love the construction of this heel. This is a toe-up sock. She has got another pattern doing almost the same heel that's from the cuff down, if you're interested in trying that. But I really, really liked it, really happy with that. So that was a Yarn Randomizer project. That was the 17th yarn I picked this year. I tend to dip down into my picks when I need smaller projects and stuff. The other finished object is I finished another emotional support chicken. And it is really, I am so happy. Let's see if I can hold this up there like that. But it turned out really well. I'm super happy with this. This yarn variegated yarn is Laughing Cat Fibers, and their colorway is called Campfire. Now she used to be an Ohio dyer, now she's a Kentucky dyer. And she does some great colorways. And so yeah, so I use it for the main color, and I use some Cascade 220 in a brown. Let's see if I can see that. Just wanted to name that brown color for you. Vinci, V-I-N-C-I. And so it turned out great. I did make the comb and the wattle this time, and I decided to put yellow eyes on there. And the main thing I did different this time is after this, so we have these three contrast color bands. At this point, you're supposed to knit the rest of the head in the main color. Well, because my main color was so variegated, I decided to switch back to the brown for the head so that you could see, see the detail better, see the eye better. I thought it would just look better that way. So yeah. But yeah, it turned out great. And this will be a Christmas present. I think this is the one I will give to my sons. And because they asked for an emoji. After they saw one of these, they wanted one. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I stuffed it a bit more than the previous one based on some recommendations from folks. I'm not a pro at making amigurumi type things or these stuffed objects, and so I did put in a little more, and I think it looks pretty good. And so yeah, so that's it. I can't recommend this pattern enough. It's such a fun little pattern to knit, and the result is so fun. So now I have 3 emotional support chickens sitting. This is my 4th one, so I have the 2 there that are still here. I have one that got sent up to be with my husband's son when he was recuperating from from an accident. And so, yeah, so they're there to give him some comfort. But yeah, so I've got intended recipients for all of these, and I've got one more to make for Christmas. So yeah, fun stuff. Oh yes, and this pattern is by Annette Corsino. And if you haven't heard about the emotional support chicken, you've been under a rock this past however many months since this pattern came out. But yeah, it's just a fun pattern. Some good short row exercise, actually. If you're interested in doing, nice thing about wrap and turn and garter is you don't have to pick up the wrap on the way back. And so it's great practice for learning kind of wrapping the short rows and stuff. I'm going to take this off because it is getting warm in here. All right. Now, let's see. Okay, so that's it for finished objects. Next is works in progress. And so I was going to start my motorcycle second sleeve this week, and I will start that today, but I kind of got a little obsessed about the sock and a little obsessed about something else, which I'll show in a moment. So the motorcycle second sleeve will get started this week. And so that's kind of rested this past 2 weeks. And now the next one this is Yarn Randomizer pick. Oh, where do I have it? Oh, you've been seeing this bag hanging back here a lot. And I should say that this is a bag from Stolen Minutes on Etsy. She's an Ohio bag maker. And this is this little cats and library books. I love this fabric and stuff. And I love the size of this bag. It's a nice big bag. And she always has these nice details. Like these, she's got the Stolen Minutes tag on the zipper, the pull there. And she's always got this loop that can be opened, and you can put stitch markers and all kinds of stuff there. So, and oh yes, she always lines her bag with this striped lining. So now this was the Yarn Randomizer pick from last year. And for some reason I stalled out. I had started it and then kind of left it sitting for a while. I don't know. And you know, when I picked it back up and started working with it, I'm like, why haven't I been working on this? This is such a fun knit. So this is the shawl On the Spice Market by Melanie Berg. And I've gotten a little further with it. And so these are colors from a company, from a yarn dyer called Unplanned Peacock. And I had picked up a set of minis. So it uses 6 contrast colors. So there's my first color there, second, third, fourth, fifth, and now my 6th color is this white with the black as the main color. So I'm almost done with this first section. Once I finish this white piece here, it goes to a mosaic knitting that uses the black as the main color and has a couple of rows, like 4 times for each of the contrast colors. And so I'm going to continue on that, but really, really happy with how that looks. It just, those colors go together well. Now, I have cheated a little bit because I think it was a 5 mini set from Unplanned Peacock, and so 5, not 6 colors. And so this orange here is actually from, I think it is from Stitch Together. Let me double check that. Oh, there it is right there. Stitch Together, yeah, Basic is this yarn. And it was a similar yardage to the Unplanned Peacock, and it was a way of getting my 6th color in here. So yeah. So there's 3 main parts. This one, the mosaic section, and then more solid pieces afterwards with a little kind of mosaic use of the main color in between with the next one. So yeah, I'm so glad I picked this back up, and it's just so nice to knit and so simple. And it was just kind of, this ended up consuming my time the past couple of days. So plan to make some more progress on that. I'd like to get this one off the needles so I could get to another shawl in my list, in my queue. If you look at my queue, I have all my randomizer projects there, and it represents reality. And there are a lot of sweaters there, but there's at least a couple of shawls there, as well as some smaller projects. And so yeah, as soon as I finish this one, I will definitely cast on my next shawl and everything. I've just had another thought that occurred into my head, and I want to make sure I don't lose it. Let's see. Typing that just so I don't. Okay, so that was my On the Spice Market, which had been hibernating for a while, and I picked it back up, and it is just so much fun to knit, and I love the colors. Now next is my year-long project, and so this is my Slip Stravaganza blanket by Stephen West, and I am on the last section, which is the 7th section. And that last section is going to take the rest of the year, except for the last week, which will be when I do the I-cord bind off. Can you imagine it, doing an I-cord bind off for a week on a shawl? Oh boy. Let's see. But yes, I've been getting, let me see if I can pull this behemoth out of here. I ended up reducing, I'm down to 2, I think 50-inch cords on here, so it's a little pulled in. Because the biggest problem with this right now is moving it around the needles. It's got over 1,500 stitches around right now, and I do a third of the distance around a day at this point. So at this point, I am finished with the first. Let's see if I can find a section to show you where it's not all kind of crunched up together. Where it has the brown on the top. Nope, no luck there. Let's come back over this way. Well, I'm gonna have to rethink this too. There we go. There's the beginning of the row. Okay. So let's see if we can see this now. So it's basically a slip stitch pattern. So you slip these stitches here while you make these chevrons. And now I'm on the 2 rows of separation again between this and the next color. So you've got the triangles and then the chevrons. Now I have been actually starting to weave in some ends on this. So I'm hoping to have those ends all woven in as I get to the end of this project. But this thing is absolutely humongous right now. And it will continue to be huge through the rest of the year. I will try to see if I can have it lined up so I can easily show the section that I want to show going forward, but it's been so much fun. I do 540 stitches a day on it. And again, as I mentioned, it's Stephen West's Slip Stravaganza blanket, and nothing really complicated about the knit. It's a straightforward knit, and I'm knitting it in Lancava Mainio. That may not be the right way to pronounce that, but it's from Finished Knits, and so you need like 16 or 17 skeins of DK weight yarn, 100 gram skeins of DK weight yarn. So I picked this up because it's a good price. It was 75% wool, 25% nylon, and at a reasonable price. Because if you had to pay like $30 a skein for 16 skeins, that's it's a little too much. So this was, I think right now it's $8.99 a skein and everything. So, and I've really enjoyed using it. So that's the progress on that. So that continues to march on. And then next is my Ilha. I only knit a little bit on this because I became obsessed with the sock and the shawl. But I will show it very quickly. I did, I think, a few rows on it. So this is my sweater project that I'm working on right now. And this is the Ilha by Orlane Suchi. Suchi, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. But it's basically got some nice, kind of a nice open fabric. It's got some cable details and some lace on the top. And now I'm working on the raglan shaping on the upper part of it. Let's see, can I figure out where the front and the back are? Maybe. Let's see, I can see where my short rows are. There we go. That's the front. There we go, that is the front. And you can see the back has some extra length on it. And so yeah, so I'll continue on this one because I'm anxious to, it's on the plain part. I think there are cables that run up the side, but otherwise, other than that, basically it's stockinette the rest of the way with some detail on the cuffs and the bottom. And I'd like to get this done so I can get onto the next sweater in my list. But I do like, it's, this yarn is, actually I should show that so you can see it. It's called Hempshaw. Oh, it's in my, it's in my, one of my little yarn cozies. But this is Hempshaw 2.0 from Bare Naked Wool. And it's mostly, it's I think about almost like close to 30, 30, 30. Let me take a look. It's 40% merino, 30% hemp, and 30% silk, and it's just got a nice feeling to it. I feel like I can hear something, a motor running somewhere. I hope that's not coming through on the recording, but we will find out. All right. Now, let's see, the next thing is, oh, okay. So I had a request from my son, my middle son. He wanted me to make a little stuffed bird pattern for a friend. And so this is a pattern called Toy Birdie Knitting Pattern. And this is by Elizabeth M.J. Now this is the start of it, or this is almost the finish of it. I don't know if you can see the reductions there, but basically it's a really round kind of bottom, and then it was supposed to come in and kind of have a little bit of a bump at the top. I think I need to kind of do something to kind of pull this in a little more to make the head a little more pronounced. But I plan on taking some white mohair and making like a little patch for the chest, and then put on some eyes and a nose. I'll stick in a picture of what this looks like. But I'm shortening the top a little bit on it. But yeah, so this is, it needs a little more stuffing. It's gonna be basically like a ball, and we'll have a little head and a little eyes and nose. And I've got some wings that'll go on the side. They'll just be right up against it. But yeah, this is, I'm knitting this in Knit Picks. Wool of the Andes, worsted. So this was a very quick knit, and it's just a cute little pattern. And what we had looked for was something that looks like a little art rendering. I'll put in the art rendering, and then I'll put in a picture of the type of bird, very round bird from Japan that this is modeled off, that we're trying to kind of replicate here. But yeah, so I started that, and basically it's almost finished as far as the knitting part. I just need to figure out how to alter the shaping maybe a little bit to get a little bit of a bump up here, but we'll see. But yeah, super cute. All right, so that's all the works in progress. Now, the, I know what that sound is. That's the washing machine downstairs. Figured it out. Okay, now let's see. So that's all the works in progress. I had mentioned last time I started a new daily task where I have to weave in 10 ends per day on my projects in my work basket. I've got a whole bunch of projects that I've been completely being lazy on and not weaving in the ends, and I finally couldn't let it accumulate anymore. And so 10 a day for the rest of the year should more than finish off everything, because that would be based on when I started. That would be, was it 3,000? More than 3,000 ends woven in by the end of the year, since so 30, yeah, so oh yeah, come back on my arithmetic. When I started at the beginning of August, so August, September, October, November, December, so it's 1,500 ends and 30 more. So 1,530 ends by the end of the year, and I definitely if I have that many ends, I'll be shocked. I should finish it earlier than the end of the year, but we'll see. So I wanted to show that I actually finished weaving in, excuse me, all the ends for my Stephen West Geo Gradient. There we go. And the Geo Gradient shawl. And I had already blocked this. Let me hold it right side up. So all the ends are finally woven in. I need to do a fringe along the bottom edge, and you can see those dip stitches there. But yeah, so finally all the ends are woven in, so I just have to attach a bunch of fringe pieces, short fringe pieces, and this thing will be done. There we go. This is also knit out of some Lankava yarn from Finished Knits and everything. And again, I had wanted something that wasn't too pricey, where I could get 4, how many skeins? It must have been 4 skeins of yarn for this. But yeah, so I got that one. That's out of my finishing basket, pardon me, for weaving in ends. All done. Next thing, next thing that I'm working on actually is my a sweater, that striped sweater I finished earlier this year. Has a lot of ends to weave in. So I'm working on that one right now for my 10 a day. So I highly encourage you, just 10 a day. It's not too much to do, and you can just get it done and slowly work your way through the if you have anything like my pile of things that need ends woven in. All right, now I think we are down to acquisitions. Oh, I had one random thing to show. I'll just put it in right here. My friend Levon made me a crocheted kind of shopping bag kind of thing, and that just turned out so neat. Now, I'm not a big crocheter. I know how to crochet, but I have never made a bag like this, and this is great. So yeah, it's got a nice sturdy handle on there, and so yeah. So I wanted to make sure I showed that to her and really appreciate it, Levon. I don't know if she watches, but this turned out really neat. I love the colors and everything. So I've been keeping it back here for now. All right, now acquisitions. So I don't know that I mentioned this, but my husband, we both ride motorcycles actually, and he went on a motorcycle trip over the past couple weeks, a couple of different legs of it and everything. And so when he does such a thing, sometimes he will stop at a yarn shop and pick up yarn for me. Now, his only instruction for picking up yarn for me is to pick up at least 2 skeins. I want it at least to be a pair. That gives me a lot more options than just a single skein. So he stopped by a shop in it's the Cana City Yarn Company. And do I have that up here still? Ah, there it is. That is in, oops, I don't see the address there. Oh, here we go. Contact us. Oh, it still doesn't have the address. Maybe it's on the home page. Whoops. Let's see. Ah, there we go. It's in Charleston, West Virginia. So Heinz stopped there, and I will put in a picture of him like when he was leaving, and then a picture of when he was in the shop. And so he picked up 2 skeins of, let me put this together here, of companion, this is companion fiber, here it is. Yeah, companion fiber yarn. This is a fingering, and it's 80% wool, 20% nylon. It feels really, really soft. And it's 450 yards per skein. And this colorway is rhododendron. So he picked up 2 skeins of that for me. And so I love it when he goes out and finds, I still, like you'll see from the picture of him, seeing him in full gear in a yarn shop is just funny. And so I love it. He's always brought me back some really nice little kind of little selections of yarn. And he jokes that his purpose on going on his motorcycle trips is just to hunt down yarn for me. So yeah, so that's my one acquisition. So it was from Cana Yarn, was it Cana? Let's see, here it is. Cana City Yarn Company in Charleston, West Virginia. So thank you guys for helping him find yarn, help him pick out a yarn for me, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So I will have to figure out what I plan to do with that. But it goes into the randomizer like everything else, and so we'll see when it comes out. All right, now the thing you've had to wait for the whole time is my next random yarn pick. So the yarn number that was picked this time was this number, 176. And so Heinz pulled that number, and that turned out to be a number that was reused. So that number came up much earlier this year for another yarn in my stash. I used that yarn up, and then I reused this number as I acquired more yarn through the year. So this is yarn I only got just this year. In fact, just in June. So it came in a twice sheared sheep surprise box. I subscribed to her surprise box this year. You get one in January, February, March. And I'm trying to think of when the months are. It was June. Basically, the three boxes. March. Okay, so it was March, June, and now there'll be one coming up in September. And then she has an Advent box as well. So, and I've already requested to do that as well. And that's the only Advent box I will do this year, is that one. I don't do the Advent boxes that give you a bunch of minis. I don't deliberately purchase minis anymore for the most part because I generate so many minis because I have a lot I have one box that's dedicated to leftover yarn that's full of scraps of yarn. So I've avoided buying minis and decided last year that I would just get a Advent that was mainly about knitting tools and things like that. So we'll see how that, you guys will get to see all that this year. So this is from Cornbread and Honey. This was a skein of yarn that came in that surprise box. Now, Cornbread and Honey is an Ohio dyer. I always like to promote my Ohio makers. And this one's called July Feeling. And it's got these pretty blues, it's got blue, greens, and pinks. There's another really nice, you can see pink and purple in there. And so this one, oh yeah, you can really see that in there. And so this is what came up. Now, the tricky thing here is your first thought might be, oh, socks, but no. This is 100% merino. Now you could knit socks out of 100% merino, but you might regret it. It's not quite as sturdy. So I thought what I'd like to do is possibly a shawl. So the shawl I first had in mind for this, if I look at my notes, was the Tiniola shawl. And it's just a really beautiful lace shawl. So I'll put in a picture of that. And the lace is pronounced enough that I don't think the variegation will be a problem with it. Now, what I will do to think that through a little bit is I'll look at some of the finished projects and see what some of the ones that are made with variegated yarn look like. Now, the other possibility, I was watching Johnathan's Days, his knitting podcast the other day, and he's just come out with a pattern called the Utility Shawl. And I was thinking maybe I could use this for his utility shawl, but I think that means I'd have to combine it with some mohair that I have, but I definitely have some available. So I still am thinking about, but I'm leaning towards, I don't have a definite answer this time. Now I'm leaning towards making a shawl, maybe one of those two, but I would love to hear if you have a suggestion for this 100% merino, as far as like a one skein shawl or some other type of accessory that might be a good fit for it. So So let me know in the comments down below. So that was my randomizer pick. Now I skipped over stash management and I made a command decision as far as this acquisition. The tricky thing is when I buy yarn voluntarily, I definitely have to balance it out, but I decided when I get yarn as a gift, as a surprise, I don't have to do that. Again, my rules. I get to play by my rules and stuff, but yeah, so I'm not balancing out, and I actually still have to record how much yarn was used up in my chicken. So cute. All right, so now that is everything. I did start working on I decided to call it Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Make One video, and I started knitting some of that, and I came to a realization as I was knitting my swatch and I was doing these make ones, I realized, oh, this actually looks a little different than if I did it in the round. I think most people have a slight tension difference between their knits and purls, and so purls tend to be a little looser. For some people, it's a lot looser. Mine are relatively close, but they're not exactly the same as far as tension. And so what I found was that had an impact. If I purl across, and when I come back knitting and go to do my make ones, I'm making one on yarn that's not as snug as if I were working in the round. So ever since I did that, and I've been thinking about it a lot, and there's so much I kind of want to do as far as make ones on, needles appropriate for the yarn, make ones and how they behave on yarn that's thinner, and I had a few other details I also wanted to get into, but the idea is also how you can use different yarn overs. Regular yarn over, reverse yarn over, and you have to think about whether you're doing yarn overs between two purls, between two knits, or between a purl and a knit and a purl. You get different amount of length, so it's getting very complex. So I'm writing a script, and I'll have to knit up a bunch of little examples and everything. So that's in progress. So I'm working it through. The other thing I wanted to mention was for folks who want to learn how to do spreadsheets the way I do them, what I'm doing is I'm looking at free patterns on Ravelry to find some patterns to do spreadsheets for. And I'm going to start super simple. What I was thinking of was starting with a washcloth, just a garter stitch washcloth, and then go to a hat, and then go to a sweater. And the sweater I'm planning to do is the oh gosh, now I'm drawing a blank on the name. It should be right here somewhere. Oh, and that reminds me of one other thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, I haven't got it up there. Flax, ta-da! I got it. I was looking at the worsted weight flax sweater, and I'll pick a size and do a spreadsheet and kind of walk through the process of making a spreadsheet for a sweater. But basically do it for free patterns so that you'll have the ability to look at the pattern and look at the resulting spreadsheet and be able to see not only in the video how I did it, but actually be able to use it after the fact as well. And then I've been thinking more about, I need to do more repair videos because I'm fixing my knits all the time and I haven't been recording that as much lately. I'm going to try to get more of those done. And finally, a note that I meant to say at the beginning was last time I had mentioned having a list of socks that use two different colors in almost equal measure in the socks. Specifically, about that Mandy's Making where you have two 50-gram skeins. And so I found some really beautiful patterns for that. I will put a link below for a list of patterns that use yarn in almost equal amounts and stuff that might be an interesting application for that, those two skeins of yarn. So, or any leftover bits and that kind of thing. But other than that, that's everything. I don't know about where you're at, but it's been absolutely beautiful weather, cool mornings, very un-August-like for the most part here. And so I hope you're enjoying the cooler weather in the Southern Hemisphere. I'm enjoying kind of anticipating sweater weather coming up in September. And other than that, I hope you're taking care of yourself and you're experiencing kindness and giving more kindness out into the world. And I also hope you are enjoying your knits.